This is the Cruise Zone on Radio Now 95.3 FM.
So this evening, I'm joined by a couple of who I'd consider musical superheroes, dexterous artists. Of course, I'm talking about Aramide and Sizzle Pro. Good evening, guys.
Hi, good evening.
What's up?
So,
all this washing is unnecessary.
How can you call this washing? How can you call this washing, man?
But we'll take it for today, Sham.
For today.
Aramide likes washing, so wash her very well.
I don't think he was washing us. I think he was actually saying the truth.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So Aramide and Sizzle Pro. The first time I encountered Aramide's music was when I listened to Suitcase in 2017.
Oh.
And I remember that album blew me away because of just how distinct it sounded. So in a lot of ways, like I said at the very beginning, I do consider you a musical superhero, Aramide.
Thank you.
So to start off, I'd like to ask, what is Aramide's origin story?
Okay, the whole music thing started in Jos from secondary school. I was part of a group called High School Gospel Melody.
Mm-hmm.
And we recorded an album, and for me that's kind of like where the whole interest came, because I enjoyed being in the studio, I enjoyed recording, hearing the sound of my own voice and all of that. I went for Star Quest. I was in a band, but I was playing saxophone.
What band was that?
It was what's that? E-band.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was kind of like the beginning of Star Quest. I was in university then. And then the whole thing, it just felt like everything I was doing at the time was just like pointing towards the direction of, oh, you have to take this as a career, you have to take this as a career. And that's kind of how the whole thing started for me, but it definitely started from Jos.
So you didn't start out as a singer, you started out on the saxophone.
I used to sing, but my dad told me at the time that if I really wanted to do music, I had to learn an instrument. I wanted to learn the guitar, but my dad wanted me to learn the saxophone. So he bought me a saxophone and he got me a teacher. And that was how we started.
Was there any reason why he was particular about the saxophone?
My dad likes Fela.
Okay.
He likes jazz music and all that. So he just always wanted... He's kind of like very fascinated with women that play instruments, you know, so he wanted me to be one.
Okay.
Yes.
So you mentioned high school gospel melody. Makan, Sizzle. That's actually on your audio mac still since 2012, right?
Yes.
So was that a project that you produced?
Well, yeah.
I used to be his senior, by the way.
You were his senior.
Yes.
I think Makan, you need to raise
I need to.
Yeah.
He used to call me Senior Aramide.
Okay.
Yeah.
She didn't even used to talk to me. She didn't send me.
I didn't know him. He was a junior, but he knew me.
From school or?
From high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
What high school was that?
Baptist High School, Jos. So High School Gospel Melody, I think officially started in 2002. However, High School Gospel Melody, the name,
I think it was 2001.
It's 2002.
Really?
2001 was two groups, Boys in God's Service and
you're right.
Voices for Christ.
Yeah.
But then prior to that, there was always a music culture, and then from time to time they would make albums. 2001, yes, was kind of the beginning of the new era of recording music annually, and 2002 was when High School Gospel Melody actually got the name. So from the time I was able to get involved with High School Gospel Melody, I think I was in SS1 at the time, and then I worked from then on till now, really. Though the last few years I haven't been as active, but then High School Gospel Melody is a big part of, just like it's a big part of her story, is a big part of mine, because even after I graduated, I still kept working with them. Yeah. But at the time she was there, I wasn't working with High School Gospel Melody yet. I was in JS2.
So is it like a school tradition, like so someone passed it on to you guys, like the previous set, or?
The way it works is there has always been some sort of obsession with music in that school, and then prior to 2001 there were like one-off albums that, okay, this group sings, let's go and record. But then it kind of became mandated after 2000. Jesse Jags was in 2001. Project MI was 98. Yeah. I think, did they do an album that year?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so there was one off prior to 2001, but from 2001 till now, every year there's an album produced by graduating students who come, they audition, and then if you make it, you get into the group, and then you produce an album.
So I'm always fascinated about Jos, and like there's a lot of creative history in Jos, right? Like you guys just dropped a couple names casually, but what do you think it is about Jos that, you know, makes it such a, you know, melting pot of creatives, and how has that shaped both of you, particularly as artists? Would you think that you guys were kind of forced into music because here you are in high school that has this music tradition and you're kind of thrust into it?
I really don't know what's about Jos. How would I put this? First of all, I think for me, let me talk about myself, was the school. And then I think for Jos is a very Christian state. I think there are a lot of churches, a lot of mission work here and there. So I think that kind of like what's the word? Help me answer this question. I don't know how to explain it.
It kind of watered the music culture.
Yeah.
Because with Christianity comes a lot of music.
Yeah.
And you know, once that's the prevailing cultural landscape, chances are when you go to church, you get interested in something, and most times it's the music. And then if you're able to, you know, actually make it to a point where they start to give you the opportunity to do stuff like that, then those who really take a liking to it and push it forward. And our school definitely helped with that, because even if you didn't particularly have a music talent, if you were there, there's just an excitement about songs, about singing, you know. So from there, even people who don't think that's what they want to do with their lives might get so excited about it that they will try their hands at it. Which is why every year during auditions for HSGM, you have almost half the set coming out to audition to just, you know, to be one of the 14 or 16 people that get to be in the group that year.
So do you think that your school harnessed that talent? Would you say that there are a lot of people that came out of that pipeline, or was it more of just like a creative hobby kind of to pass time?
I think the school helped in a lot of ways, because the school helped a lot of people discover like the talents, and then when you leave the school, you decide whether that's what you want to do. So it depends on the kind of people you're hanging with. You know, so for me, I found myself hanging around a lot of music heads, and I always wanted to be in the studio. I found myself going back to hang out with people like E. Kelly, because E. Kelly was one of the producers from my own set's HSGM album, you know. So I found myself always hanging out with E. Kelly, MI, and the rest of them, you know, because I felt like I needed to be around those kinds of people to push my music career. I didn't know where it was taking me. I just knew that I wanted to do that. So I'll say yes, in a lot of ways. Like the school actually helped,
like an incubator kind of.
Yes.
Albeit not so deliberately.
Yeah.
I think it was just a derivative of the music culture that the school had, and then it inevitably gave birth to a lot of people that were very enthusiastic about it.
It seems like quite the roster, if you ask me. So, Aramide, you played the guitar and the saxophone.
I don't play sax anymore. I used to.
Okay. Are there any other instruments?
No, just basically the guitar.
What would you say is the hardest part of learning an instrument? And are there any kind of techniques you can carry over from one instrument to another, or are they more unique?
I think like the only thing you can carry over is just the zeal to learn. Like if you want to learn how to play an instrument, you have to really, really be interested, and that will make the learning time shorter.
Okay.
But if you're just learning because other people are playing, you might just not really get into it. But if that's what you really want to learn, the learning time will definitely be shorter.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Sizzle,
Yeah.
did you always start on production, or were you like a artist? And if so, why did you kind of just zone in on producing?
Well, my dad is a pastor, so coupled with the, like she mentioned, the very heavy Christian culture in Jos, and very foreign influenced Christianity, so to speak. You know, there was just music all around the house.
When you say foreign, you mean like missionaries, or?
Yes, a lot of mission headquarters in Jos, and there's a lot of mission work from like deep in the 50s, the 60s, which my dad was a product of, you know, missionaries coming to Mangu local government, and he worked with them a lot. So that culture of, okay, one, my dad is also a singer and a guitarist as well, so that culture, and then pastor's child, it's kind of the natural progression to pick up an instrument at some point. You understand? So started off with drums, taught myself to play drums. I don't play now anymore. Then got a couple keyboard lessons, did that, and then just when I was becoming a great keyboard player, production just showed up, and I was like, aha!
What do you mean production showed up?
Like making beats, putting songs together, because these things require time to become exceptional at. So I was improving as a keyboard player, and then actually hip hop and R&B kind of happened to me like around the same time, you know. And then we had a keyboard in the house, we could make beats on the keyboard, and from there the obsession of trying to become a great keyboard player kind of snowballed into me trying to be a great producer, you know, because as a producer you kind of technically put together all the instruments, you know, from the drums, the bass, the keys. You don't, even the instruments you don't know how to play, you can hear them in your head and you can get the instrument players to kind of. So I fell in love with that, and then I had just known from that point I was just going to be a producer. Never thought of being an artist, never thought of, you know, playing shows in like a way she would play the show and be the singer and all that. But from then it was just to be behind the scenes, create the music, write songs, you know, and have other people who are way better at it, you know, do the singing part.
I think being better at it is kind of contentious if you ask me, but you mentioned you kind of visualize the instruments and kind of create the harmony. So how does that happen in your head? Like, isn't that kind of tedious to think of, oh, I need a violin here, for example, I need a drum here. And then how do you know which artist fits that song or that production?
Well, first of all, I think we all hear music in our heads, whether or not you do music. And the more you invest time into actually listening to music, the more the small components that make up a song. So you don't have to be a producer or a singer or an artist to listen to a song and say, the violins are really nice here, the horns are really dope here, you know, I like the thing that this drum section is doing. You can pick that up regardless of if you're a professional in the field or not. So I'm not sure that I would see it as tedious. It's just one of those things that if you give time to it, if you're a movie buff, you start to pick up certain things. Oh, usually when they turn the camera like this, they're going to cut into something else. You know, when they zoom in like this, there's this feeling that is supposed to be invoked. So to answer that, I don't think it's much of a burden per se. I, on the other hand, has just put in the effort to take some of the things I hear in my head and then put it on wax.
Okay. So Sizzle kind of snitched on you by saying you didn't have his time back in the day.
I didn't know him.
I have a great story to buttress that point.
I
Go
did
ahead.
not know him. He was my junior. He knew me. I was the star in school.
Ow.
So,
Oh my goodness.
how did you guys' relationship develop over time, and how did you guys?
I want to tell this story.
Okay.
Because if he tells the story, he will lie.
You will exaggerate it a bit.
He will sprinkle small like this. Okay, so of course I've always known him. It's just that we didn't have like a talking type relationship. So there was a time he reached out to me on Facebook. Am I
On
right?
the Facebook.
Okay, on Facebook, saying, what did you say to me again?
It was really just when next year in Jos come to let's try out something.
I was like, and then I was in Lagos at the time, so I was just like, okay, whenever I'm in Jos, this. But I always kind of like, I didn't like ignore him.
Okay.
I always like responded right. Yes, now.
Eh.
I always who was I wasn't nobody.
I'm just kidding.
I always responded, but because I was in Lagos and I came to Lagos to, first of all, I came to look for a 9-to-5 job.
You came to Lagos before him.
Yes.
Long before.
Wow. Okay.
I was a senior in school, remember?
Okay.
So I came to Lagos. I was looking for a job because my parents allowed me come down here to find a job, but because the job wasn't coming, I felt like I could go to like open mic spaces to perform and sing and all of that. So I was hanging out with people I knew from Jos and all that, and then there were times that it just felt like nothing was working, and then I'll go back to Jos. So there was a particular time I went back to Jos, but before I went, I told him I was coming, and then before I came, I had written a couple of songs, and then I played one of the songs I had written for him, and I think he liked like 2 of the songs. He produced one for me, and no, we produced 2 songs.
It was one first.
It was one first, I believe.
Yeah.
We produced one song, and it sounded good.
Are they out? Are they in
Yes.
the public?
They're somewhere on the internet.
Yeah. There's
Well, one of
that-
them eventually became like the marquee song of our career, but the
Yeah.
first song that we made, I remember telling her, I'm going to make your best song ever.
Yeah, that's what he told me that all the time. But one thing I noticed and why I stuck with him was the fact that I just always felt comfortable recording with him. I didn't feel intimidated. I didn't feel judged. Sometimes you're working with the producer, like you're standing in the voice booth, and then the person is like, there's just a glass separating you guys, and it feels like the person is judging you.
Most times they are judging.
Yeah, so and as in coming from my other experiences recording with other producers, there was always comparison. Oh, you're not singing like this person, or you should be singing like this, you should be singing like that. With him, he just accepted me with my style. I think from the moment he heard my voice, he recorded me. He already knew the kind of singer that I was and the kind of music I wanted to do. And I remember Kelly telling me, oh, you should actually work with Makan. Like, I noticed that every time you guys work together, you always sound your best. And that was kind of like how the whole thing happened, and now he's my brother.
Interesting.
Oh,
That's kind of cute. But Makan, she mentioned something which I kind of have to agree. You have this ability to make people comfortable around you. How did you develop that kind of, let's say, people skill to be able to get someone to, just be themselves? And why do you think that's important for the creative process?
Well, I'd be lying if I say I developed it deliberately. I can't put a finger out as to when.
God-given.
But then the value to making sure that the artist is comfortable is that because of my philosophy of music, I feel like music should be made in the way it is felt, right? And usually when you're in the creative process and then you're having to deal with the people you're making the music with, do they think that I'm singing correctly? Do they think this line is stupid? You understand? it gets in the way of the creativity. You know, when you talk to creatives, you hear them speak a lot about flow, the flow of things. The thing was just flowing, and when you interrupt the flow, you take away some of the artistic integrity. So even if you don't have that skill, it is in the best interest of the art to make sure that the focus of the art, which is the artist, at that point is as comfortable as they can get, because you're just as important as the producer is to the music, you're not the focus. So if I'm insisting that this is better for the song, I know it's better for the song, but the artist isn't comfortable with it, even if they do what I say, they won't do it with the whole of their heart, so it's not going to be there. You understand? That whole vibe of people just feel, I don't know what it is about the song, but those kinds of things are improved when everybody in the creative process is as free as they are, as they can be, as happy or as sad. You know, they're not feeling the pressure to be, I'm too happy, let me tame myself down. I'm too sad, let me excite myself. No, let's do it. Like, there are times we're recording a song and in the first 30 minutes we just know, no, we're not doing this song today, because it's just not there. And you would do the music such a great disservice if you're always trying to kind of cookie cutter the creative process and make sure that this happens the same way every time. You realize that there will be no dynamism in the way the music feels. It won't feel very, I don't know the word for this thing.
There will be no vibe,
you know. So that is why it's important. I'm one of the fortunate ones that it kind of comes naturally too, because I feel people are their most honest when they're the most as free as possible.
So Sizzle mentioned something about artistic integrity and collaboration. You as an artist now, how do you deal with that kind of push and pull, not just working with the producer but working with other artists, maybe working with another songwriter or even collaborating with another artist? How do you maybe reconcile that kind of difference and kind of be in harmony?
Okay, first of all, when we have a song and there are times I'll be like, or he'll be like, I hear this person on this song, I hear this person. Basically, it's always about maybe the person's previous work and what we think the person can deliver. You don't hear everybody on every song. You hear certain people, certain voices, certain type of lyrics and all that. Because I remember when we wanted to do the remix of Fomilo, we wanted it to be very funny, very just easy, you know. And I wanted we wanted two people, one from like a different generation and then one from a different generation, like a younger and older generation. And then of course we needed people with smart lyrics, people that, you know, and then that's why we chose Sound Sultan and Coca at the time, you know. So it's always about what you're hearing, like the same way you hear stuff like the beats, the violin and everything, the same way. And then there are times that you have to feature people because maybe the label wants you to feature them because of stream numbers and
it's popularity, visibility. All that stuff.
Do you think that tarnishes integrity as an artist?
I don't think so. I think it all depends. You have to first of all be comfortable with it. You have to agree with it. And when it comes to music, if someone is pumping in money into your career or you hope to make money, you actually have to be as reasonable as possible. You have to look at what actually works, because sometimes what you want might not necessarily work out, but what actually works, what's going to give you more for less.
Exactly what it is, more for less.
Yeah, you know. So there are times that you see a soul artist or an R&B artist collaborating with a pop artist, and you wonder what's the correlation, like how is this working?
How did it happen?
Yeah, you know. So the thing is, you just have to look at, okay, if me as a soul artist, if I feature this person, am I going to get new following from there? Am I going to get more numbers? am I going to? Some people are not going to like it. So especially your fans, some of them will not appreciate it. Some of them will be like, oh, you're selling out. But at the end of the day, you know why you're doing it. And sometimes you do it, it doesn't work out, you don't do it again. Sometimes maybe you did it with the wrong person. It all depends. Like music is just take a lot of risk, as many risks as possible.
But the most important thing for me in those types of situations is to make sure you have the right song.
Yeah.
So if you notice, artists who have the luxury, who get in with the artist they're trying to feature and knock out maybe 4 or 5 songs. You understand? To kind of look for, you would hear someone like Pusha T say, oh, we were looking for this sound, we're looking for the beat. You understand? And he'll say, oh, Kanye found the beat for this song on the 3rd day of being in Wyoming. Some artists have the luxury to just get together a couple of times, have multiple sessions, try out stuff, work with different producers, and then they pick the 2 best to say, okay, this one will be on your album, this one will be on my album. But then for those of us who don't have the luxury, okay, label comes and says you need to put this person on it. So usually what we would do is we would sit down and do the heavy lifting before we send to the artist, and maybe pull out 2-3 songs and say, okay, these are the ones we pulled out for this person. How does this person sound on this? And kind of do some of the thinking through and decide, okay, this is the song, the artist. And more often than not, when it clicks, like the time we did Fall on Them with Timaya, when it clicked like this, everybody was just like, yes.
So it's a lot more of it's not the perception from the fan is, oh, you guys are just chilling, and then it's like I call Timaya, and then you come in the
because
studio.
Artists are liars when they come on interview shows and all that. They're just, we just got in. I'm like, guy, the actual story of how this song came together is a lot more interesting.
Yeah, and we always prefer to tell the story, because the truth is Timaya is a way bigger artist than Aramide. And I before we did the song, I don't think I had even met him before, but his manager is my very good friend. And then we looking for, we wanted to put a particular artist on it. It was a long shot in the dark. But we tried and it was taking too long. So his manager was like, what about this artist? What about Timaya? We're like, okay. And she made the whole arrangement, and it happened.
And when we heard it, it's not one of those songs that you record with an artist and you're just like, oh, I'm going to have to put this thing out because I have to. We're
really excited about it. Like one of the songs that I'm not going to mention the artist, one of the songs that we have on this new project, some people on the team were like, oh, they hear a rapper on the song. And I was like, no, I actually hear a singer. And I convinced him. Like, he listened to it, he was like, oh, I think we actually need a singer. And when the feature came back, it was like, it's mind-blowing.
No scrutiny.
Because I was so sure that the thing is, the rapper might have done his thing. It's just, how far is he really going to take the song? It might take the song far because of the artist. But the thing is it really, really going to...
that impact is the thing that the right song does. The right song with the right artist, the right collaboration, it starts kind of
for me, the rap wouldn't have really added to the song. It would have just been as good as just doing it alone.
So speaking of your music now, it's I've heard people describe it as soothing, folksy, maybe a little rustic. How important do you think it is to label your style of music, and if so, how would you describe your music?
Let me start with the description. I call my music Afro Soul, but lately I've been branching out to plenty things because I'm trying to experiment, but it's still the same voice, it's still the same person, it's still maybe just a different attitude towards each song. And my music is soothing. Sometimes it has an old school vibe, sometimes it's jazz, sometimes it's mainly soul. Maybe it's the way I sing, the way I perform my music. But the most important thing is for people to listen and enjoy it.
So you don't really think it's that important to label song music or your genre?
I think it's important to know what genre you belong.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that you don't
dance around.
You don't dance around, really. So I think it helps you maintain focus. Like, okay, this is what I'm doing. And especially when you first start your career, you need to know where you're headed to.
You think an artist who jumps within genres is unfocused? It doesn't help their creativity, or it doesn't help the image?
I think the artists that I don't want to say anything now because they know how to turn things in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying that I will not say that artists that jump within genres are not serious artists or not focused artists. I would just say that when I hear artists move from one genre to the other, I feel like you haven't discovered yourself yet. You're still trying to, and some people just don't want to be labeled. They're just everywhere, you know. But for me, it's very important for the kind of artist that I am. It's very important for me to say, okay, what do you do? This is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah.
Fair enough. So Makan, you've kind of
Sizzle.
I've already let it go. You've dropped it. You dropped the M-bomb twice already. So it's fine.
Apologies. How have you kind of seen tech evolve over the years in terms of like music production, and what do you think the relationship is between technology and music?
Well, the beautiful thing about tech influencing music making now is pretty much the curse, you know, of music making.
Mm-hmm.
Tech, especially for when I came in to music production right at the cusp of, you know, the analog age phasing out, you know, and the digital age being ushered into music making made it so much more accessible to people who wanted to go into music production.
People use this word accessibility in music, but don't you think that's kind of ironic, because it doesn't necessarily make it easier to have a sustainable career, you know?
Yes, that's why I said it's the gift and the curse, because the accessibility of it levels the playing field for a whole lot of other people, but the same accessibility allows for charlatans to come in as well and dilute what is being done. You understand? Like nobody is. It's such a great thing that people who cannot play instruments, like a very good friend of mine, producer, singer, songwriter, Monli, cannot play a single instrument, but he hears music in his head so much more complex than those of us that could play instruments, and digital recording helped him put those ideas down. So he would just open his FL and click a virtuoso piano,
or do those voice different acapella.
He's on the acapella tip now, and he would do things that you'd be like, this is crazy. But without digital recording, if he just had a 4-track tape recorder that, you know, my dad used to record his album in 1990, which would be what we'll be able to afford, it would, the process, though we know the process, it would be so long. First of all, the entry point in terms of like money, was he going to be able to afford a 4-track recorder? Because if you had a 4-track recorder, you're always also going to have a mixer, have to have a drum machine, have to have keyboards, have to have all that stuff. But everything has now been put into software, you know, so that's the good thing. The other side of it is that you have people who are not really passionate about pushing the music forward, who come in and very often end up, you know, with hits, end up with, you know, really big movements. And then the business people, which you can't blame them for, are like, if this very simple something, we can just put this boy in the studio and in six days he will do 6 albums. This is what is bringing the most money for and costs the least, so why not? And then those of us that are now thinking, okay, they say bring budget for album, and I say, oh, we want to bring in a horn section, we want to bring in live guitars, and label is just looking like, this guy just made his album with only him and producer and engineer. Why are you asking for all this? And typically on this side of the world, the type of music we make tends to, in quote, make less money than those ones. So it's the gift and the curse. But then I always believe that those who are willing to do this. We'll not look at that. Like, I can't be looking at somebody who, in quote, puts in less work than we do and is blowing bigger than us and be angry. No, it's their moment. We will just keep doing what we do because we know longevity in the game is better than a flash in the pan moment, and would rather go for that than the quick one.
So Aramide, you mentioned not wanting to rile up the industry. When did you have that moment like, damn, I'm actually in the industry?
Wait, let me see. When was the moment? I think it was maybe when I won the Headies Awards.
Oh wow. The 2016?
It was 2016. It was 2016 was the review year, but I think you won it in 2017.
Yeah.
For Suitcase?
No, it was for
Formula.
No,
you won Icon.
Okay.
Yeah, so for me, like, a lot of people didn't even know who I was. I was just doing, except people that were in that soul, R&B, because we used to do a lot of live music and all that. And then me winning an award that was not a voting category for best female vocal performance, everyone was like, who is this one? So they went and first dragged me on Twitter.
Wow.
Oh my god.
That must have been, a bit scary.
I was depressed.
Wow.
I was scared. I was like, oh my god, I don't want to be in this industry. I don't want people to be abusing me. All I did was I just want an award. I don't want the award. Just come and carry it. And then my friends called and they're like, post the award, Joe. Did they ask anybody to vote? They just gave it to you.
It's yours.
It's yours. And I kind of like summoned courage. I actually posted it and everyone congratulated me. And I think that was when everyone was like, who is Aramide? Why did she win the award? Oh, the song is good. Who produced it? This and that. And then from then, I kind of like took advantage of the fact that eyes were on me, and I said, put out more music.
Who produced that song?
It was Olaiton and Kobams.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of award show, in 2019 you were appointed by the Recording Academy to be on the board of the the Grammys board, basically.
Yeah.
What was your initial reaction, and how does it feel to be on the board?
Feels good. That was my initial reaction. It feels good because I always want to do something else other than just being a singer. I want to make impact. I want to make a change. I want to be able to push for stuff on the international scene, and being a part of a Grammy chapter in a state actually is. So
you're part of the reason why we're bringing home Grammys now.
By the grace of God.
That's the most arrogant thing you said. By the grace of God.
But you mentioned international music. Do you think our music is actually on par? Do you think we're building a sustainable industry, or do you think this is a moment for the white man once again to try and leverage off of hype, for example?
How do I answer this question? First of all, the Afrobeat is becoming very popular now, and Afrobeat artists who are championing it well, pushing it. Actually, Burna, Wizkid, Davido, and these are people that actually in Nigeria, if you have the funds, you'll be heard. So these are people that are pushing on the international scene, and what's the word? They have strategic collaborations with record labels, media houses, PR, and all that. So I think that I don't think it's just a moment. I know that I don't think it's just a moment for us as Africans. I think it's actually groundbreaking for us. I think it's for instance, Beyonce came and did an album with a bunch of African artists, and most of them were Nigerians. So that shows that we actually push ourselves as far as we can get.
What about you, Makan? What do you think?
Well, I don't think it's a moment. I think this is here to stay, because thanks to the internet, the best of Africa will always rise to the top. We don't necessarily have to wait for them to be popular.
Yeah.
The the windows are open now, and I'm pretty sure doors will be open, because inevitably the eyes that are on Africa, everybody is not going to focus on the most popular things forever.
Yeah.
You understand? If you're from Poland and you like a Burna Boy song, inevitably streaming that song on YouTube, another Nigerian artist will be suggested, you know, and gradually
the algorithm.
Exactly. So I'm pretty positive that this isn't just a one-off moment, and it's going to snowball into something really huge, really big for Africa. But as you said, there's always the risk of this just being, you know, the white man looking, oh, okay, this is the new thing that has been done. Oh yeah, let's find ways. Exactly. And I hope that a lot of Nigerian artists who have the opportunity to actually do deals outside do it, knowing that they will be doing so much for posterity's sake to maintain a lot of ownership of their music. You know, it's a worry of mine. I don't know what these deals look like. I don't know if these guys are signing away all their publishing. I don't know what the royalty situations look like. You understand? But I think I have a healthy amount of faith in the people who are handling the business of these artists, that we would first of all make an impact internationally, and the bulk of the benefits will come back to Nigeria. I'm optimistic that will happen.
We're already making an impact.
Circling back to Nigeria though, you, as you mentioned, had to move to Lagos, and a lot of creatives have to move to Lagos. When do you think we'll get to a point that we have multiple creative hubs like J-Town?
I knew that was the question I was going to ask.
Port Harcourt. Was it really that big?
It's just like if you want to do country music, you stay in Nashville. If you want to do pop,
but do you think those are sustainable? It's sustainable here to stay in your city?
Right now, no. If you're not in Lagos and you're doing music, right now, no. If you're not in Lagos and you're doing music outside of Lagos, you might actually not really. If you're looking for the real commercial success, you might actually not get it. You might get it in other states, but it's just very few people that end up with that type of success. An example is, I think Flavor used to do music in Enugu, so I can't remember, and he was big, and then he moved down to Lagos. He was collaborating with artists from Lagos and all that, and then he became bigger. So Lagos is kind of like the hub of music. Lagos is where commerce is. Lagos is where almost everything is. But when it comes to music and entertainment in general, it's Lagos. Okay,
so a couple more questions, because I know that you mentioned earlier you have to go home to your baby.
Yes.
Now, as a mother, of course, congratulations.
Thank you.
How has motherhood shaped your creativity?
Oh my goodness, it's been hard. I will not lie. It's been very, very hard. There were times in my life where I would just wake up, pick up my guitar, write a song or practice. Right now, I find it very, very hard to do because I barely even sleep well. So I think it's kind of like slowed me down a bit. I'm just starting to pick myself up again because it's been like a year. Just starting to pick myself up again. So I don't want to be one of those people that will be like, oh right, it's fine, it's cool, everything is great. It is not great. Like it's very challenging. It's a lot of work.
So of course, happy International Women's Month. It's Women's Day every day.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about Songversations with Aramide, and part of your advocacy and your reasoning behind holding it every International Women's Day, correct?
Yeah. We actually don't hold it on International Women's Day per se. It's always in the month of March.
Okay.
Yeah. Songversation.
Have you held it already this year?
No, because of COVID pandemic. Anyways, we will get back. We will come back to it. Anyway, Songversation is means song conversations. So it's me having a show and then speaking to people, like singing, right? Having conversations through songs, basically. Yeah. So the idea behind doing it every month of March is just to celebrate women. I feel like there are always a lot of shows in December. There are a lot of shows in April for Easter and all that. So I just felt like, you know what, why not we do this in the month of March, celebrate women, and then we also partner with brands that help us support small businesses and all that. So I really wish we had the opportunity to do it this year, but it's not looking like we will because of the pandemic. Yeah.
So you've described yourself as shy a little bit. How do you cope with that, especially with being such a public figure? And also, what methods do you use to kind of de-stress or relieve yourself after a busy day, for example?
Am I shy? Am I still shy? Am I shy?
A little bit.
But not like before. Right?
No.
I think I've changed a lot because I think performances have changed me and all of these interviews and stuff. Yeah. Naturally, I'm not a very like loud person like that. I like to keep to myself and all that. So when I've had a very stressful time, like if I have a performance, rehearsal and all that, when I get home, I just rest. I watch a movie or something, go to bed. Nothing extra. Yeah.
So you guys mentioned you're working on a new project. Could you tell us about what the future holds for Aramide and Sizzle Pro?
Talk.
Sorry. Well, new project has been in the works for a while now, and she's pretty much almost back to full swing now. So a lot of music this year. You know, there wouldn't be a lot of breaks between when music comes out. You know, music will come out a few months. You know, more music. You know, pretty much to catch up on lost time, so to speak. But the music is changing. You know, it's changing is not the word. It's evolving, right? You know, you expect that with an artist. When you put out your first project, you know, a lot of your fans will expect you to just stay there and give them exactly that. But we know for longevity's sake, that's not the way to go. So it's evolving, and the evolution is very organic. You know, it's not like one of those things that when the next project comes out, you just hear something left field and everybody's like, where did this come from? So we're going to try to kind of trick the listener into going on this journey, and the music will evolve, you know, pick up certain influences from here and there, but it still feels very soulful, still feels very
sounding quite conceptual, actually.
Yes, though it hasn't gotten to that really conceptual part. It's still very feel-good music. It's still music that can work anywhere. It's not so niche like that. So obviously we want to make money from the music, so we're doing our best to kind of open it up without it losing the essence of what her music is about, and then, you know, carrying people along. I think the fans feel a little more loved when they can see the process of you.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something.
Oh, when you said the fans, like carrying people along, a lot of people have reached out to me because a lot of the fans now know that, okay, maybe there's something coming, and a lot of them have reached out to me saying, oh, I want to be a part of the listening session.
Wow.
And all that. And I think it's something that I'm very open to. You know, like maybe one day we'll just call people, reach out to maybe like 10 fans and allow them to listen to new music, and, you know, just before we put it out.
You have a very dedicated fan base. I will say that they have a very tight knit. You have a very tight knit with them.
Yeah.
Well, Aramide Sizzle Pro, thank you so much for joining us on the Cruise Zone. A lot of love from Radio Now, and it's an honor to have you here.
No problem.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.